Hello and a happy new year from yesterday's Airlines. I know it is the 13th of January, so it's a bit late to be saying happy new year, but nonetheless, happy new year. And this is the first of 2024's release ranking videos. It is actually technically 4 releases that were announced just before Christmas, but they will be the January-February Phoenix releases. Presumably that is because of the Chinese New Year holidays, which always slows stuff down at this time of year. Anyway, Phoenix had a really good 2023, as I think I said in my last video. And I got 7 of their models last year, which is high praise, really, because that's as many as I've got in the previous 3 or 4 years combined. And, I'm someone who collects 130, 140 models a year. So 7's not a huge number, but still, it's a tremendous increase. And that illustrates the diversity and the improvement in the output from Phoenix in 2023. They still don't have the best molds, and a lot of the molds they're releasing on at the moment will likely be eclipsed by ngmodels, but it's difficult to sit here and say you should wait for what NG does, because NG have been a little bit flaky in terms of what they've been releasing, and I've no idea when they're going to start pushing out A340s and 767s and things. And in the meantime, the Phoenix molds for both of those types are really good. So, hey, might as well get them when you can. So, this month, we've got another strong set of releases from Phoenix, and a good number of them as well. As I say, it's a Jan-Feb release set as I understand it, and there are 16 models in that set. So, as per usual, I will go through and I will talk about each one and determine whether I think it is supersonic or whether it is scrap metal, and everything in between. But before I do that, in the new year, make a New Year's resolution to subscribe to yesterday's Airlines here. So chuck a like on the video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. Keep on checking me out at Yesterday Airlines on Instagram and Facebook, and obviously yesterdaysairlines.com, where I regularly publish histories of the brands in the scale, aviation history, blog articles, wish lists, model reviews, detailed model reviews, and tons of other material related to 400 scale. It is your one-stop shop for what is going on in the scale. So keep an eye out there. But let's get on and see what Phoenix are going to be bringing us in this, probably won't be January, but probably in the February-March period. Okay, as I say, 16 models, and it's the usual Airbus, Boeing, everything else order that I'm going to be working on here, and we begin with a single A330-300. It is in the colours of Aeroflot, but it does have this little 100 years of Aeroflot sticker on the lower front fuselage. It's quite a retro kind of 100 design. I actually quite like it, but it doesn't really fit with the quite modern scheme that Aeroflot have. The aircraft is registered RA73787. It's one of these aircraft that has been retrospectively re-registered in Russia following the beginning of the Ukrainian conflict. And that's, I guess, for me, the thing that makes this model a little bit, I don't really have an issue with models being made for airlines in war zones or for regimes that aren't particularly pleasant. But at the same time, the war is literally on at the moment. It seems a little bit tasteless to me to make Aeroflot models with RA regs, which kind of have a direct link with the Ukraine war. So, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. In terms of Aeroflot A330s, obviously this isn't the first by any distance. In fact, I have a Phoenix Aeroflot A330 already that was made quite a few years ago, and it's a really nice model. And there have been several others, a couple by Aero Classics, a Series 200 by NG, in fact, but not a 300. And this is the first time there's been an RA reg A330 from Aeroflot. So it's unique, but at the same time, as I say, I'm not really loving the concept of releasing Aeroflot RA registered aircraft. So I'm going to put this one into workhorse. Harsh, but I'm going to do it anyway. And now we move into an area where Phoenix has really got the upper hand for the time being, until that is NG decide to start releasing A340s, and who knows what they'll make when they do. I'm just not sure about NG anymore in terms of what they actually will put out on the molds. Then you've got this really good opportunity for Phoenix to use their A340 molds, which are nice because, you know, A330 is good and the A340 molds are good as well. And we've got 4 A340s this month. And the first one up is a Series 200. It's Airliners Argentinas. It's LVZRA. It's wearing the scheme that was used when the airline was under part ownership or full ownership, I can't remember, by Iberia. So it's a very Iberia style scheme, but it is quite nice. It's quite colourful, better than the scheme that came afterwards, which was basically a white fuselage. So that is quite cool. Nobody else has made this before. There have been 3 A340-300s made, and they're all wearing the existing scheme, not wearing any of the previous schemes. So this one actually has a lot of potential, I think, to be really nice. And I wouldn't be against seeing the scheme that comes after this, which did just have the dark tail and almost the white fuselage, because I used to see the aircraft at Auckland when the airline operated Auckland, Buenos Aires. So, yeah, this is an awesome release. Really good example of what Phoenix can do with some of their better molds. Unique, interesting airliners, and the A340s are all great. So, yeah, this one is supersonic for me, and a model which I think I might get. I've been trying to hold off buying quite a few Phoenix releases, and I didn't get the Egypt Air, for example. I feel now that I probably should have done, but this one I think I probably will get it. This is going to be really nice. Next up, we're into the Series 300s of the A340s, and again, we've got some really awesome choices here. Next one is Airliner, the Sri Lankan carrier before it became Sri Lankan. 4R ADC is the aircraft. Again, great scheme, great mold, bit classic-ish, and really nice choice and selection. And, you know, as I've said in previous videos, Phoenix are now working directly with a friend of mine, and he's given them some really grand ideas for releases like this Airliner A340. So really want to say thank you to him, and yeah, well done Phoenix for listening and making something a bit more diverse and interesting. Again, I think this is an excellent release. None of these have been made before. I'm looking in the DB and I see there is one that says it's Dragon Wings, but I can't find any information about it. I can't find a reg for it, can't find a year of release, can't find any pictures. So actually, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is, again, the first time that this has been made in 400 scale, which is quite shocking, really. So, another really great release. Again, a supersonic, and again, a model which I'm really tempted to buy if I can find a bit of room to fit it in the Sri Lankan area of the fleet. Not sure I can. The third A340 is another Series 200. This one is a bit more modern. It is Syrian Air, YKAZB is the registration. The Syrian scheme, yeah, it's not the most exciting, but at the same time, it's quite an unusual airline to get in this scale, basically. There haven't been a lot of Syrian releases. There have been a couple. In fact, there was one just recently, wasn't there? The Aero Classics 77, but obviously not this scheme. In this scheme, I think there's been an Aero Classics A320 and a wittywings IL-76, but never anything like this. So again, completely unique. Can't say I'm a big fan of the Syrian regime, but nonetheless, this is it's an attractive livery, even if it's a relatively simple one. A little bit too modern for my taste, but a really good selection choice again, I think. I'm going to put this one in the high flyer. Not quite making it into supersonic, but it's close. It's actually super close to being supersonic, but I'll high flyer this one. And the last A340 for this month, another Series 300. This one, Swiss International. It's HBJMA. It's got the Swiss scheme, but it's got red nose cone. Aircraft actually been, or this model's been announced previously by jcwings, but of course their version, who knows when that's going to appear. This one will appear more quickly, and the mold is, I think, slightly better. Should be really nice. The red nose is quite interesting, adds a bit of fun, I guess, to what is a relatively boring scheme. It is certainly not the first Swiss A340 that's been made. There have been versions by Air Classics, Panda Models, and indeed Phoenix has made one as well. They made one last year, JMI, but nonetheless, a really good choice with the red nose cone. If I was a Swiss collector, I'd be super keen to get this. And again, I think I'll high fly this one as well. So, really good set of Airbus A330-340s there. Really good to see, and they should all be really lovely models. Really diverse and interesting bunch. Excellent stuff from Phoenix. Now, moving off into Boeing territory, things go downhill, as is often the case, because we got a couple of 747s. I'll get to those in a second. Before that, we've got a 737 MAX 8. It's Iraqi Airways YIASX. They made YIASL, or they announced that recently. I don't think it's actually been out yet. And they have been, as I understand it, making some modifications to their MAX mold, so it'll be interesting to see whether that looks any different or not. But since they've made this one, or effectively exactly this aircraft already, just with different reg, I'm just going to give this one workhorse and not worry too much about that. And that brings us into those two 747s that I mentioned a second ago. Again, as often is the case, awesome livery choices. China Airlines in their classic 80s scheme, B1864, and SAS wearing the, again, classic scheme with the Viking longbow, LNRNA. Both really great choices, both really, really bad molds. I've talked about this a lot. I don't want to talk about it again. I'm just going to scrap metal these and move on. It's such a shame. And yeah, there's not much more I can say. It's just a shame that the mold is as poor as it is, because they're both really good choices and models I would buy if the mold didn't suck so badly. Okay, that gets us over that slight, trough, and back looking upwards, we've got some nice Boeing wide bodies, and the next one up is a 767. They've been making some nice 767s recently, and these are some of the models I've been ordering. I've ordered the American, I've got the United on order. I've got another one on order, I can't remember what it is. But nonetheless, they would generally look good, and the 76 mold is a nice mold. It's not perhaps as good as the new upcoming MG, but again, I don't know what MG are going to make, so who knows. This time around, we've got Lauda Air from Austria. OELAZ is the reg. Lauda Air is another airline that has been quite heavily ignored in 400 scale. I'm not sure how many releases there have been. There haven't been very many, which is a real shame, because Lauda was quite an important airline. There have been 3 previously. One was actually a 767, a Big Bird one, but it's wearing Star Alliance scheme. And one is a dreadful Herpa 777, which is wearing the same scheme as this one, and one is also a dreadful Herpa 737-600. So there's a really poor selection of previous Laudas. Now, this isn't the Lauda scheme I would like it to be. This is the slightly later Lauda scheme in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you've got this a darker kind of greyish fuselage top, and you've got the addition of this angel logo on the fuselage and the tail. And beforehand, it had a white top, didn't have the. It was a slightly nicer scheme, I think, before. But still, it's a good choice, and I can say nice to see some Lauda, to be honest. So can't really criticise it. I would have preferred the earlier scheme, but it's still going to be a really nice model. Not one for me, but I'm going to high fly this one too, because I think it is a solid release there for me. That's the only 767 this month, but we move now into a couple of 777s, which are, again, decent enough and interesting enough, I would say. So the first one up is Austrian Airlines, OELPA. It is wearing I think it's the current version of the Austrian scheme, which is much better than the previous My Austrian mess that they had. Austrian schemes always tend to look kind of similar, and this one is the one with the white engines. It has got big Austrian titles. They have made, or Gemini have made a version of this, but it was a 60th anniversary version, not the standard scheme, and didn't look quite as good, actually. I think I prefer it as it is. It is a little bland, the Austrian livery now, and there have been better versions of it before. I particularly like the scheme when they had the blue bottom to it. That was really nice. So it's not overly exciting, but nobody else really has been overly interested in making many of these Austrian 777s. Phoenix has made a couple in the My Austrian scheme. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be nice enough, isn't it? I guess the question is it nice enough to be a high flyer? And yeah, I think it probably is, to be honest. So I think I will high fly this one, even though it doesn't set my world on fire, but it's not a bad choice, and I'm sure it'll be a decent model. So can't really get too upset about that. The second 777 is a LR version, and this one's got a really bland livery, but nonetheless for a really interesting airline. It's Turkmenistan Airlines. Now, Turkmenistan is another dodgy regime with a bit of a dick leading it, but nonetheless, Turkmenistan Airlines, really interesting and an unusual country, and there's been pretty much nothing really made for Turkmenistan previously in the scale. There have been a couple of IL-76s. I recently got one of the witty ones. There's also been one by Aero Classics, but this is the first time that really a mainline passenger airline from Turkmenistan Airlines has been made. So it's a really nice, interesting choice. The reg is EZA780, and the scheme, yeah, it's just green tail, green engines, white fuselage. It's not very interesting, but nonetheless, the uniqueness and unusualness of this is something which is making me think, hey, you know, it stands out, even though the livery doesn't. And I'm going to put this one up into supersonic, actually, because yeah, I like to see this kind of diversity. I like to see new countries. I like to see airlines that have been poorly represented. And Turkmenistan isn't a tiny airline. It's a decent size, even if the regime is a bit dodge. So yeah, good model, supersonic, I think. But yeah, not one that I can buy because it's too new. But yeah, cool model. And the last 777, this one is the least interesting of the three for me. It's Air France. It's FGSQA. It's wearing the large titled Air France current scheme. I didn't realise, but looking at it and looking through a bit of text here and there, I see that Air France increased the size of the main titles on their aircraft, and this one, yeah, they actually look kind of huge now. They're not billboard because they're still above the window line, but they're not far away from being billboard. What's interesting is Phoenix have actually made one of these already. They made GZND, and that was made in 2021. The only difference is that it looks like the Air France tiles are a bit further back. They're staggered, whereas on this one they should be up by the L1 door. So it's almost the same, not quite the same. But hey, it's an Air France 777. There have been lots made. Admittedly, none, I think, in exactly this version of this scheme. But it's not really thrilling me. So I'm going to put this one into... I think I'll put this one into workhorse. Okay, that leaves us with 4 models to discuss. Only one of them's a Boeing, and it's Air Canada 7879 wearing this Disney Wish Le Soleil. My French accent's dreadful, obviously, and I don't know how to say that, but it's wearing this scheme, which is the same scheme I think I talked about in the Aviation 400. In fact, definitely is. It's exactly the same aircraft, CFVLX. Not, particularly exciting. I don't really like livery very much. I do like the Air Canada standard scheme, I might add, but I don't really overly excited by this one for a film that I'm not overly excited for either. I'm just going to workhorse. In fact, no, I'm not going to workhorse. I workhorse, I think, the AV400 version of this, but I'm not going to workhorse this version because it's not going to be as good. The Phoenix 787 mould is incredibly old, and even though they've made some modifications recently to the underbody and such, it's still got these really poor wings associated with it. Yeah, I think I'll put this one into gas guzzler because of the mould, and because I'm not really interested in the livery either. So that one's going to gas guzzler, I feel. Okay, cool. So we've got 3 models to discuss now. None of them are Airbus and Boeings. Hooray! One of them is a McDonnell Douglas though, and it is the German charter airline LTU. It is a DAER whiskey. Is the reg of this MD-11. LTU had a lovely scheme. This red top looked amazing on their tri-stars, looked fabulous on the MDs too. Really nice. And the only previous LTU MD-11s that we made was a Gemini/Shuko version that was made a long, long time ago. It was made in 2002. And it actually looks okay considering its age, but obviously it'd be nice to have an updated version of it. I still have some, concerns, shall we say, about the Phoenix MD-11 mould. It's a very, very old mould, which has been updated. I can't say I'm loving that nose gear, which gives it this, you know, front heavy or front high aspect. And that makes it difficult for me to ever make a Phoenix MD-11 supersonic. And I think I'll make this one high flyer. Again, it's a model that I'm tempted by, but at the same time, you know, not tempted by, if you understand where I'm coming from, because I know it's going to be okay, it's not going to be great. And that's often the case with a lot of things, which is why I don't buy as much as I might, just because a lot of it is going to be, yeah, it's okay, but it's not spectacular, you know, because the molds just aren't quite there. So it's conflicting me that they're making such good choices for airlines and aircraft, but sometimes the molds not quite there. And molds that aren't quite there include the TU154, which Phoenix has. And even though it's actually not a great mold, and in fact I've been scoring it like a 6 in reviews, 6 out of 10, but it still is okay. You know, again, if NG were using their 154 regularly and well, then this one wouldn't get a look in, but they're not. So this one's getting a look in, and even I'm buying it. So I've got a couple of these on back order at the moment. But the ones we have this month, one is quite obscure, and that's, again, courtesy of my friend, and he likes the odd obscure Russian. This one is an Aeroflot TU154 RA85019, but it's got Transaero titles, and as I understand it from talking to him, it's actually a freighter that was leased to Transaero for a while. So it's a really unique and unusual TU154, and the sort of thing that I'd be queuing up to buy if I didn't think the mold was a bit stinky. So, yeah, I don't think I will get it because I just don't know the mold. If this was on the NG mold, I'd almost certainly get it, but I don't like it enough to get it on the Phoenix mold. That's my kind of feeling at the moment. I might change my mind. But I'm going to put this one in the high flyer. Great choice. And an interesting story behind the aircraft, but just the mold isn't really working for me. And the second T154, not a lot to say about this one. The reg is OMAAC. It's another Slovak Airlines one. They've already announced a Slovak Airlines TU154. It's one of the ones which I have on back order, actually. Should have really got there by now, but some reason it seems to take ages for models to get to the UK from Phoenix. So that's really annoying. But anyway, I've got that on back order, the other version. Apparently it sold quite well. They obviously split the production between these two regs. But yeah, Slovak Airlines, nice scheme and all that, but the same as the previous version they released a couple of months ago. I'm going to put this one into workhorse. So that is the look of this month's Phoenix releases. And to be fair, it is another really, really good month for Phoenix. So well done to Phoenix, and well done to my good friend who is making some really good choices for Phoenix. Put me in a quandary because I look at these and I think, you know, there could be better versions coming out soon, but they aren't there yet. And I'm not sure if they ever will be there if NG don't start upping their game and actually delivering the models which I think, you know, a lot of people want to see instead of the sort of things they've been doing a lot of recently, which have been quite boring. So it's a great set. 3 supersonics, 6 high flyers, and several of those could easily be supersonics, and that easily outweighs the, you know, those dreadful scrap metal 747s and that one gas cutters of 787. So a really good month. Several models in there that are tempting for me. A couple I think I probably get, and you know, as I said, the fact that I got 7 last year, getting 2 out of the first month or the first 2 months of the year from Phoenix, you know, that's a good result. So really well done, Phoenix. I think this is a nice month. What do you guys think? Drop me a comment as always, and I'll see you in the next one of these videos. Not sure who that will be, to be honest, but we'll find out soon enough. Okay, guys, speak next time. Bye.